Hi everyone, I'm Emma. Hi everyone, I'm Emily from Book Trust. Welcome to Pyjamarama and our live broadcast. I just couldn't be more excited. I was so excited I didn't even get dressed this morning. I just kept my onesie on, grabbed my bear, and I'm here because we've got Chris Riddell here, and I'm just very, very excited. I've been in the waiting room with him earlier, and he's looking splendid. And so I want to tell you that Chris Riddell was Children's Laureate from 2015 to 2017. He's Book Trust Ambassador, and he often comes into our office and brings us Ferrero Rocher. He's the author and illustrator of the Goth Girl series, the Ottiline series, the Edge Chronicles, now the Cloudhorse Chronicles, loads of picture books. He's won the Kate Greenaway medal 3 times, hat trick, so he's super amazing. Let me introduce Chris Riddell and welcome him into our chat. And here he is.
Emily, hello, good morning.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. I like this idea of, new way of going to work, which is just putting your pajamas, keep staying in your pajamas.
Just leaving them on. So let's have a little look at yours. What are you really wearing there, Chris?
This is my robe. I'm probably not a terribly great model. I'm just looking down at my screen as we talk. But what I also have, Emily, is a T-shirt. And I got the bill to really display a T-shirt drawing very well. And this is a drawing I've done of a spacewoman.
I love it.
Leisure Society, who are one of my favourite bands, and they asked me to do a drawing to go on their T-shirt. They call it merchandise. So there you have my sort of lockdown physique.
I love it. I desperately love one. And Chris, sit down again so I can see your face.
Yes.
Now, do you always wear your Children's Laureate medal?
Oh yes, all the time, Emily. I mean, I'm
really.
Yeah, if you see, it's in its special case. And I often say sometimes when it lives on my mantelpiece, you can see my mantelpiece but just behind me.
Yeah.
And whenever I need to, I'll go over to my mantelpiece and just open the lid and just gently stroke my medal. And then I put it away again, so I don't lose it sometimes. But I can actually, just because this is a very special occasion, I can put my medal on.
Will you? I like the combination of a dressing gown and a medal.
I think it works, doesn't it? As close to jewellery as I'm ever going to get. So,
so Chris, as you know, and everyone knows who's watching, people have been throwing in their incredible drawing requests for you. I was first of all going to pick them myself. I gave myself that lovely task, and I looked at them all. And I realised that I wanted to give this job to a higher power because it's so unfair that I should pick them. So I put them in
Emily.
It seems like a good idea, doesn't it?
Mm.
So I'm going to choose, because I know we're going to chat while you're drawing, and I know that you can actually chat while you're drawing, can't you? That's what you do, always.
Yes. It's better than me singing.
You can sing as well.
You wouldn't want to hear that this early in the morning.
So this is random, but they're all brilliant anyway. The first request is from Pip. I think she was from Twitter. My daughter Sophie would love Chris to draw Ginger from the Cloudhorse Chronicles, please. It's her favourite of all Chris's amazing books characters.
How lovely, Emily. What a lovely way.
Because that's your lovely new book, isn't it? I've got the proof here.
Yep.
But weirdly, the proof hasn't got that many drawings, so I've got the real copy in the office at Book Trust.
Oh, excellent. And Ginger.
But let's have Ginger. Tell us about Ginger.
Well, Ginger is a gingerbread. I'm going to say a boy, but he's rather bigger than a boy because there was quite a lot of gingerbread mix when he was made, and he's been baked by an apprentice baker called Zam. And Zam has used a very special spoon to make ginger. And so Ginger, in true gingerbread boy style, has come to life and jumped out of the oven that he's baked in. And he turns into quite a useful companion to have if you're a baker. His fingers are really sort of utensils. and he's rather crumbly gingerbread, but he's very large and quite good at protecting you. So he's like an edible bodyguard.
He's lovely. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, while you're drawing that, I know you've nearly finished, but why do you think books and bedtime just go so well together?
I think it's it's a lovely time, isn't it? At bedtime, you know, you're end of the day, you're tucked up, which is always really nice and snuggly. And the nicest thing to do is to listen to a story. And as a parent, one of my things I always loved doing with my children was reading a bedtime story. It was a sort of time we had together where we could, you know, share the stories. I'm ashamed to say, Emily, it was often my own books that I read to my children. They often protested, and then I'd have to read another book by a much more distinguished author. But it's a lovely time, isn't it? A lovely time to share. You can share books at any time, which is also fantastic, something we're learning in lockdown. But bedtime, I think, is special. And then you can have a special shelf where you put your favorite books on the shelf, and you can go back to them again and again.
That's so lovely. I've just noticed on camera, I've actually got one of my favorite books here, which is actually by you, Travels with My Sketchbook.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I love
that book, Emily, when I need to be reminded what I did between the years 2015 and 2017. I can tell you absolutely to the day, you know, where I was and what I was doing, because there's a little sketch in that book.
It's useful, isn't it? Useful to keep a visual diary. Did you carry on doing that after?
I did. It's one of those things, and I say to anyone who's interested in becoming an illustrator, get a sketchbook and draw in it every day. Draw anything you like. Doesn't have to be what's in front of you, but it can be. It can be something from your imagination. You could even just jot down a shopping list or what you'd like for dinner that night. It doesn't matter. It just should be a place where you can make marks and think on paper. And getting into the habit of drawing every day is a great thing, because you learn that drawing can be fun. It's a little bit like reading. Reading should be fun because you're getting stories and information and fantastic things like that. Well, drawing's exactly the same. Don't worry too much about how you're drawing. Just make sure that you draw every day.
It's such a great tip. I'm going to give you another drawing request for you.
Yes, I'm waiting. Yes.
This is a lovely one. Heather, who got in touch on Facebook. So my daughter has ASD and ADHD, and she is finding lockdown very hard. She has a very vivid imagination and has now created an imaginary friend called Wolfie. Wolfie is with her all the time, and he's a cross between an owl and a wolf.
I didn't expect that.
And he's very big. And we would love to see what Chris could make of this and provide our daughter with a visual picture of her buddy, Wolfie.
Oh my goodness. Well, what an amazing combination. I think the wolf.
I'm so excited to see this.
And an owl, yes.
An owl and a wolf. Wolfie. It's just really intriguing.
A little bit like, you know, the owl.
Yeah. Has. And that's really amazing. Well, hopefully she'll be watching this and maybe she'll be inspired to draw it herself as well. I'm finding it really lovely to go on the Book Trust Home Time site, which is booktrust.org.uk/home time, because we've got drawing lessons going on all the time there, from all kinds of amazing people, especially Ed Veer, who's Book Trust illustrator in residence at the moment.
Ed is one of my favourites, Emily. Yeah. I love seeing Ed draw. He draws a very good lion, by the way, a very good lion.
He does, doesn't he? And he's excellent, particularly excellent at drawing animals of all types. I mean, I think you're good friends with Ed, aren't you? You've definitely had. I've seen you.
I love Ed because all I need to do if I want to look, you know, young and fashionable, I just need to stand close to Ed. So people don't know me, and they know Ed because he's very fashionable and dashing. And also, like me, Ed loves to draw. So I remember a lovely time at the Hay Festival. Ed and I were sitting in the audience next to each other. We each had our sketchbooks and we were drawing. The talk went on quite a long time. And so we started having a conversation with each other with our sketchbooks, just drawing little messages to each other.
Like two
backwards and forwards. It was great. I think I might have drawn something saying, "Can we get out of here and get a glass of wine, Ed?" Drawn a response, I don't know, of middle-aged man who really didn't need a glass of wine. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, sort of drawing as a conversation.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing to do. And I think, being in lockdown does allow us more time. Normally we're dashing around so much, I am anyway, and it does allow us more time. That's the advantage, to read and be creative, really, doesn't it? It feels like the creative side of life suddenly becomes more important. It's always important to you, but...
It is always important for me, Emily, but I actually find that it can be very difficult, and I don't think any of us should feel too much pressure about this. I think I love what Lauren Child, who was laureate just before me, had this lovely idea, which I completely endorse. And she said sometimes it's good just to look out of a window and just clear your mind and just think of things, look at clouds and things. And I think that in itself is a very creative thing. So I think we can do lots of activities. We can draw and we can write stories, but also we can just take time to look out of the window and have some thoughts. That's a nice thing about, if there's one nice thing about lockdown, and of course it's not a nice thing, but it is the chance we've got to just pause and think and maybe take it easy on ourselves.
What about, it's also really lovely, isn't it, to escape into books? I mean, that's what I love about books, that you can escape into another world. So which story world would you most want to go into, or one of the ones you most enjoy going into?
That's a good question, Emily. I mean, there are lots of fantastic sort of worlds to go into. One of my favourites was always Narnia, where you would enter through the wardrobe. That was always a very sort of special adventure for me. I loved that. I also loved The Hobbit. I loved the sort of the idea of living in the Shire as a hobbit and having a wizard come and visit me and invite me to go off on an adventure. That was always really one of my sort of ambitions. But the lovely thing about both Narnia and The Hobbit is that you could go into these different worlds, and lots of adventurous things would happen. And I really enjoyed it, but I always felt safe, you see. And that's the other wonderful thing about a book, is you can go into another world, you can have these amazing adventures, but you're always safe at home with the book, somewhere cozy, reading it. And I think that's something magical, the way that books invite us to go on adventures in our imagination.
Yeah, books are magic. And by the way, you put Wolfie down quite quickly.
Let me show you. Here is Wolfie.
Utterly amazing. Oh wow!
Wolfie. He has the owl's eyes for seeing. He has wolf's ears, which suit an owl, I think. He's got some claws, and a wolf's tail. So possibly Wolfie doesn't fly quite too effectively, but he's probably quite good at sort of scampering through the woods.
I love it. Heather, you'll have to let us know on Facebook whether what your daughter thinks about that, and I'll tell Chris. Oh, I've got another one here for you, Chris. I love this one, actually. This is from That Boy Can Teach, brackets, Aidan. I guess he's a teacher. Okay. I would love him to draw a dad reading with his 3 girls. I'm not sure where I got this idea from. P.S. The dad is bald. And the
Oh,
girl
okay.
got
I
hair.
can relate to that.
If it sweetens the deal, it can be us. I mean them. Reading Ottoline at Sea, which is what I'm currently reading to the littlest.
Oh, how lovely.
Cute. Okay, Aidan. You're lucky, aren't you? Oh, just to say, everyone whose names get picked out of the magical hat and the Chris draws, we're going to send you the drawings. They might take some time to come, because Chris, you'll send them to me, and then I'll try and go to the post office and send them, and it might take me some time. But eventually you'll get them. It might not be till September, but you'll get them.
And the post office is open, which is good. So I have been receiving some lovely letters and
A bit of a clap to the postal service. I just love my post. I always love my postman because he brings me a lot of books. I know him really well, actually.
Aren't they?
My letterbox.
Yeah, aren't they fantastic? I think they're a brilliant job.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I also like the idea of sort of letters rather than emails. I know emails are very important, but I think it's lovely to receive letters as well. So hopefully during lockdown we're all writing letters to each other, which I think will be a nice thing.
Yes, I must actually do that. I keep receiving lovely letters from my mother-in-law and the kind of people who write letters.
I've got a lot of letters I need to reply to. You've just reminded me, Emily. So I have some letters I need to sort of get sort of writing. And here we have the daughters in bed, listening to Dad reading.
Oh, so cozy.
It might be sort of it might be Ottoline. And if it is, I apologize because there'll be lots of different voices and explanations you'll have to make of the illustrations.
Oh yeah, I love doing the voices.
And that's the other thing I really enjoy is actually listening to authors read their stories.
Yeah.
That is really good fun. And I've even attempted a reading myself. I had to use a lot of different voices, some more effective than others, I've got to say.
I'm going to choose another pick. Get ready, another request. Well, that's good. Oh, I love that. Bedtime reading. Oh, what a joy. Chris,
reading
you sometimes draw on, you don't always draw on paper, do you?
I have drawn on various things. I've just drawn on. I don't say one should do this at home, but I have just drawn on one of my my sort of kitchen walls, which was a lot of fun, I've got to say, and kept me amused for hours. But when I'm not doing that sort of thing, Emily, I like to draw on these. This is a
house.
There's a fairly standard loo roll. That's quite. I'll hold it up to the camera to see it a little bit more clearly, and they're quite fun to sort of illustrate. I like the fact that they're brown paper, so so I can use highlights on them and sort of pencil grain, and I think they're quite nice for sort of portraits in a way, a little sort of drawing of someone. So
loo rolls became so rare, didn't they? The beginning of lockdown, so it's extra good.
That I think is a rather monstrous angry loo roll. Just for contrast. So you've got, and then they line up quite nicely. You can put them on a shelf, and they can sit next to each other on a shelf.
Lovely idea. Are they quite easy to do? Is it difficult to draw in the round like that, though?
That's part of the challenge. It's quite fun, and I would say to anyone who wants to do this at home, that's part. See if you can make the face sort of fit on the loo roll. And I've seen some people who actually sort of crush the top of the loo roll to make little ears and things. Oh, so that can be fun. I haven't been that adventurous, but
maybe if people who are listening want to have a go drawing on a loo roll, they can tweet it or put it out on social media with a hashtag drawing with Chris Riddell, which we've been using all the way, and we can have a look.
Yes, and I think this is a good way to sort of all those loo rolls that must have been sold in that sort of that period where suddenly you couldn't find any. Luckily, I have my loo rolls delivered, Emily, from a very nice sort of company that sort of does sustainable sort of loo rolls.
Yeah, I know those.
They're good, aren't they? And they come wrapped in paper, not plastic, which again is a very good thing. And so, yes, here I am attempting to sort of illustrate a loo roll in real time.
What pen are you using, Chris?
This is a Japanese brush pen.
Oh, very cool.
It's a little bit like a paintbrush that you can sort of keep in your pocket. And so it's nice to the flow of the ink works nicely.
That's lovely. You draw with lots of different things, don't you? So you draw with pencil and pen and.
I'll draw with anything, Emily. Anything available is the key. This is turning into a bit of an Ed Vere lion. I don't know. Maybe it's the other thing that happens. We have a conversation, and then suddenly, something happens when I draw. I never think too much when I'm drawing for fun about what I'm drawing. So I always sort of, part of the fun is just surprising myself and seeing what comes up.
You draw all the time, don't you? Because I've been on trips with you when you've been on the train drawing on bags and.
That's my favourite thing to do, Emily, is on journeys, is to take a sketchbook with me and draw, because it seems to me that's the perfect time when you're sort of travelling to do that. And it's one of the things I'm really looking forward to doing again, when we're allowed to, going on trips and take my sketchbook with me. But in the meantime, I sit in my garden, and particularly when the weather is lovely, I can sort of draw, while away the hours doing drawings.
How lovely! I love that line. He is beautiful. Can I give you another request?
Yes.
This is from Carla George. She must be a teacher as well. Hi, Chris. I'd love a picture of someone holding a baby dragon for our Year 6 class who are missing school. Maybe a boy or girl aged 10 or 11 to represent one of the children.
Oh, how nice.
Chosen. It would be awesome. Oh, could you say it's requested by Miss Robinson on behalf of the children at Kingsley County Primary School?
How lovely. Well, I'm not surprised the children at Kingsley Primary School are missing school, because that sounds like such a nice teacher. I think I would miss school if that was the case. I think we're all missing, our normal activities, aren't we, including going to school. And I think that's one of the real challenges, isn't it? Sort of finding really interesting things to do when we're all at home.
It really is. But drawing's definitely a really great one. What do you think? What kind of lockdown would it be in Ghastly Gorm Hall, would you say?
Well, they have lots of visitors. This is Goth Girl, one of my sort of Goth Girl stories, and it all takes place in a very large country house. And I think during lockdown, my goodness, there would be, apart from anything else, it's very hard to sort of lock down ghosts. There are a lot of ghosts at Ghastly Gorm Hall. So but then I suppose you don't have to worry too much about sort of social distancing with a ghost, because they're not really there.
It's probably quite safe to interact with a ghost.
I probably a little bit like having a sort of what we're doing now, in having a virtual conversation. But there's lots of sort of grounds in Ghastly Gorm Hall, so you could take your Regency bicycle out to take your exercise. That's a bicycle without pedals that you can push around the grounds, and then you can always, I suppose, have maybe sort of big tea parties and things, just with the people you're locked down with in Ghastly Gorm Hall. It's quite a small place, so there'll only be about sort of 300 people there, but they'll be all sort of, nice and safe and looked after.
It sounds actually, it's like the perfect place for lockdown, isn't it, really?
I think it is. What a nice thought.
What about Ottiline? How would she be coping in lockdown?
These are good questions, Emily. I like revisiting things. Now, Ottiline, I think, would find lockdown very difficult because she likes going on sort of long walks through the city and noticing things. I suppose she could still take her usual exercise. Mr. Munro would have a lovely time during lockdown because he could, concentrate on his string collection. He collects bits of string that he then sort of winds up into an enormous string ball. So I think he'll be spending a lot of time just tying his little lengths of string together to make an enormous ball of string. And also, Ottiline has everything delivered to her. So I think she'd probably be still getting deliveries of toothpaste and plumped up pillows. She would have to draw her own curtains. That's the only problem. But apart from that, I think she should be okay during lockdown.
Well, I think she'll be fine as well. This is looking beautiful. This dragon, this year 6 child, absolutely amazing. You're going to hold that up to the screen in a minute, aren't you?
I can do that, Emily. Yes. Let me just do his. This is a little baby dragon. There we are.
Oh. God, this is a funny one. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh yeah, that's amazing. I've just realised it's like 11:26. How's the time flown so much?
It has, hasn't it? My goodness, it just
finished 5 minutes ago. We'll have to go on a bit more. Leave it if you must.
We will, Emily. But now, of course, I can't resist reading a poem about a baby dragon.
Oh yes, please.
My favourite things. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can find it. Here we are. It's one of my. There is Baby Dragon, and this is a lovely poem by Brian Patton. A small dragon. I found a small dragon in the woodshed. Think it must have come from deep inside a forest, because it's damp and green and leaves are still reflecting in its eyes. I fed it on many things, dried grass, the roots of stars, hazelnut and dandelion, but it stared up at me as if to say, I need food you can't provide. It made a nest among the coal, not unlike a bird's, but larger. It's out of place here and quite silent. If you believed in it, I would come hurrying to your house to let you share my wonder. But I want instead to see if you yourself will pass this way. Isn't it funny, Emily? Everything seems to be about lockdown, even when you don't think it is about lockdown. That's a lovely lockdown poem by the poet Brian Patton.
Really
From
such
these are
poem.
Poems to fall in love with.
I love that book so much. I think this might have to be our last request.
Oh my goodness, time has flown.
Yeah. We've got something to do at the end, haven't we? Okay, Katie on Facebook. A penguin reading wearing glasses. From Phoebe, age 6, who loves penguins, reading, and she wears glasses.
Oh, how lovely! Yeah, I love glasses as well. I think they're always good. They're very good for sort of putting on and taking off if you want to make a point, and putting them on again. And I think that's always very good.
Penguins?
Yeah, penguins are great. I love a good penguin. In fact, I have a penguin in one of my Ottiline books. The penguin is called McNally, named after one of my editors. It's a very, very well organized penguin who runs a polar bear shoe company, making very, very fashionable shoes in a floating iceberg.
Oh dear, I love it. I always think penguins look like one of the most intelligent birds that may be able to learn to read.
I think they have great dignity as well. I think it's their sort of tiny feet and their flippers and the way that they walk. They always look as if, if you have very tiny legs and flippers, you probably need all the dignity you can get. It's just reading a book, possibly by a publisher that we all know.
Chris, I've just had this request in. I've seen it on my little chat here on this on YouTube, and I think it's a really good idea. It's someone called Lemon on Twitter.
Yes.
You can do a very quick drawing lesson, which we can all draw along with.
Oh, that's a very nice idea.
Quite a nice idea, isn't it? I've got a piece of paper. I'm gonna get a piece of paper here and draw along.
That's a very quick drawing of a penguin reading.
Oh, I love that.
A penguin reading a penguin. There we go. So I think if you can see, sort of, we all have a very. This is the very first thing I ever learnt to draw.
Yeah, I'm drawing along as well.
Okay, right. We just do a nice sort of curve like that.
Yeah.
And then actually just at the top of the curve, like a big sort of C, and just there, just start about there and carry on round about there.
Yeah.
Then go just inside that curve and go round like that.
Yeah.
And then just down from where you started, go in just a little line there. And then just where that ends, do a little sort of bumpy line there that links up to that.
Yeah.
Little crease there, crease there.
It's really weird. I have no idea what I'm drawing. I think I'm drawing. I won't give it away.
Little shading there. Shading there.
Yes.
And if you look at that, that's how you draw an ear. This is my drawing of an ear.
Okay, mine looks really weird.
Yes, it's interesting. Yes, but the eye, and I like that. That's right.
Well, that's great. You are a brilliant drawer, Chris.
It's years of training, Emily. What can I tell you?
Look, I'm feeling a bit sad about all these requests for this hat. Maybe we'll have to do part 2 if lockdown continues much longer.
We must do it again, Emily. I really enjoyed it. Can I show you some of my sketchbooks that I brought?
This is a beautiful sketchbook, Chris.
It is a very, very beautiful sketchbook that was made for me by a bookbinder in Shropshire. And he even asked me to do a little drawing so that he could put sort of a design on the cover in gold, which I think was really nice. I drew him a little eye with wings that flies around and hovers above people who are reading sad stories and gently sort of weeps on their heads. I always start my sketchbooks with a mouse in a overcoat. So there he is.
When did you start drawing that mouse? Ooh.
I think I must have started about sort of 10 years ago, I think, Emily, and it just was a way of, when I had really beautiful sketchbooks, I would put them aside and never use them because they were too beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And so I decided that actually what I needed to do was just start sketchbooks and not worry. So I started drawing a mouse in a raincoat because it was the first thing that came to mind as a way of starting a sketchbook. So I would then carry on. And this is one of the most beautiful sketchbooks. So I just really forced myself just to jump in and do lots and lots of different sort of drawings, almost story starters, you could call them. And if you go to the Book Trust site, you'll find some activities to do. And one of them is a series of drawings I've done that could start a story, just a illustration that you can write a story all about. And these are pictures really to start stories with, some with familiar characters and others that I just made up.
Oh my goodness.
Porridge. So that's that sketchbook. And I have another sketchbook, one of my other favorite sketchbooks is this one. And this one is a very exciting sketchbook. It's called Conveyancer and Property Lawyer, 1944 to 45. Very, very exciting sketch. You might think that sounds a little bit boring, and to be honest, it is. It comes from the Portsmouth Law Library, and there's my mouse in a raincoat. But what I decided to do in this book was to do what you really shouldn't do with books, which is to draw on all the pages. And so where all the writing is, all this very important writing, I've just drawn on the pages.
Oh my goodness.
I know you shouldn't do this to really important, but this is Conveyancer and Property Lawyer 1944 to 45. So this is probably okay. So you can see it's got lots and lots of different drawings that I've been drawing on.
Oh, Chris, that's so beautiful. I know you shouldn't draw in books, but there are some books that are very boring.
Well, the thing is, Emily, I mean, if you want to know just how sort of boring this book is, let me just find a little, bit of reading here. Yes. Let's have a look. While these temporary dwellings remain on the land where they are deemed to be fixtures forming part of the freehold, Section 2, Number 1, when removed structures, fittings and materials are to be held and disposed of for the benefit of the Crown, Section 2, 3, and the... Instead, you just draw a goblin.
Terrible drawn on that.
But the thing about this, I said, Emily, I would show you the sketchbook because it has a sort of surprise in it. I did actually draw on every single page in the sketchbook all the way through, right to the end. So all the pages have drawings in them, every single page.
Wow.
And just got to the end of this, and I looked at the front, and I thought I hadn't drawn on the title page. So this is the title page. The Conveyancer and Property Law has been written by someone called Harold Potter. Isn't that good?
Weird. I love it so much.
The real Harry Potter was in fact a property lawyer in Portsmouth
Oh, Chris,
in 1944.
thank you so much for showing that to us. That's so amazing. And Chris, I know it's 20 to 12. I just want to ask you one more thing. Can you tell me what one of your favourite children's books of all time?
Yes, I can. It's this. Look. This is Alice in Wonderland. It's been my favourite for as long as I can remember, ever since I first saw Alice in Wonderland and picked it up and read it. The White Rabbit in his waistcoat, always loved the White Rabbit. And so it was a real thrill last year to be asked to illustrate a version of Alice in Wonderland. So this is my version of Alice in Wonderland, which was due to come out next month, but because we're all locked in, I've had to delay it. But this is the actual book that I'm holding here. And if you would like, Emily, I could do a short reading from it.
I would love that. I'm sure that everyone listening would love to hear that.
And let's just pretend, in a way, it is. We're all in our pajamas, so it is sort of, it's not bedtime, but we can have a morning story instead of a bedtime story. And this is from a chapter, one of my favourite sort of parts of the book. This is the Mad Tea Party with the Mad Hatter, the Mad March Hare and the Hatter, and the Dormouse. You can see the Dormouse is fast asleep.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So I'll just read a little bit from this. There was a table set out under a tree in front of the house, and the March Hare and the Hatter were having tea at it. A Dormouse was sitting between them, fast asleep, and the other two were using it as a cushion, resting their elbows on it and talking over its head. Very uncomfortable for the Dormouse, thought Alice. Only, if it's asleep, I suppose it doesn't mind. The table was a large one, but the three were all crowded together at one corner of it. No room, they cried when they saw Alice coming. There's plenty of room, said Alice indignantly. She sat down in a large armchair at one end of the table. Have some wine, the March Hare said in an encouraging tone. Alice looked all round the table, but there was nothing on it but tea. I don't see any wine, she remarked. There isn't any, said the March Hare. Then It wasn't very civil of you to offer it, said Alice angrily. It wasn't very civil of you to sit down without being invited, said the March Hare. I didn't know it was your table, said Alice. It's laid for a great many more than 3. Your hair wants cutting, said the Hatter. He'd been looking at Alice for some time with great curiosity, and it was his first speech. You should learn not to make personal remarks, Alice said with some severity. It's very rude. The Hatter opened his eyes very wide on hearing this, but all he said was, Why is a raven like a writing desk? Oh, we shall have some fun now, thought Alice. I'm glad they've begun asking riddles. I believe I can guess that, she added aloud. Do you mean you think you can find out the answer to it, said the March Hare. Exactly so, said Alice. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. And there they are at the table. And one of the reason I read that out is I love this little part of it because why is a raven like a writing desk? And one of the brilliant things is not even Lewis Carroll knows why a raven is like a writing desk. He never tells us. So that could be one of the things we could try during lockdown. We can try and find out the answer to that riddle. Why is a raven like a writing desk? It must be out there somewhere. Let's do it.
If people can give their answers to drawing with Chris Riddell, that would be great. Oh, Chris, I could honestly chat to you all day, but there's lots of other things going on in the Pyjamarama Festival, so we better go and let some other things come in. I'm back live again with at 1 o'clock with Sav Ukyas and Ben Bailey Smith, who are going to be reading out Bear Moves and I Am Bear and doing some chatting, and then later with Cressida, and there's loads of other things going on. So I think the Book Trust website was behaving a little bit naughtily due to so many people going on it, but if you go onto Twitter or Facebook, it will tell you when everything is, because everything's really happening on YouTube and Facebook anyway. So thank you so much, Chris, and you're going to be sending me all those lovely pictures, and then I'm going to find a way to get them to the people you drew them for.
Yes, Emily, thank you so much for having me. It has been so nice. I'm tempted actually to stay in my pajamas all day.
Well, you must do. Obviously, I'm staying in my onesie all day.
Absolutely, I think that's nice. So it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye. Thank you so much, Chris.
And it's been a real pleasure, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.